Good afternoon, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. I have a fascinating show today. I've been waiting to get Mr. Jim Onick on the phone and on the show for about a month. He's so busy. What he's doing is remarkable because he is healing. His system, his program, his technology, his lasers are healing people's pain. It's absolutely unbelievable. He is the founder and CEO of Epoch Lasers. And Epoch Lasers is really an amazing company. You can find them on the website. You can find them on Amazon. And I became very interested in lasers to help heal pain when I found out so many pro athletes are using lasers inside the training room. So Jim, I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Thanks so much for coming on the Entrepreneur Spotlight Series.
Thank you very much for having me today as a guest. I appreciate it.
Now, Jim, let's talk about your background first because it's a remarkable background. And you told me prior to the show that that's mitochondria. Let's talk about that a little bit because that's so exciting. Mitochondria, I understand, is really what makes the world go round.
That's right. It's the powerhouse cell. So think of it as a molecular battery that's providing and energizing cells. And so when you breathe in the air, you get oxygen. When you eat food, you get energy. And the mitochondria takes that energy in. And from that, it produces something called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. And that is a really significant component that is prevalent in all living beings on Earth. And it helps people heal and heal faster when you accelerate that. And so when you add this wavelength of light in our products, it produces more ATP. It's another source to energize the mitochondria because there's a receiver in the mitochondria that receives the light and it produces more energy, it produces more ATP. Thus, what we're doing is we're accelerating the body's own healing mechanism.
I love it. And for those people watching, there will be a test at the end of the show. So make sure you're focused in on what Jim's saying. Now, let's get to the Epoch lasers because it's incredible. You're able to heal pain with laser light. These are therapeutic lasers for pain management. Let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet, Jim, and tell everybody about the Epoch lasers.
Sure. Well, you mentioned 30,000 feet, so I'll just comment very quickly that the wavelength of light we use to help heal is not prevalent below 30,000 feet. So it's not coming through our atmosphere, yet our body has this receiver for it, which is a fascinating in of itself of why that is. So what we do is we use a light source that's very specific called, it's 980 nanometers of light. It's an infrared light. It's invisible to the eye. And when you place it on the body, whether in the form of the laser or the little device for home called the Helios, that light passes through the different layers of tissue and stimulates the cells, as we talked about. It stimulates the mitochondria. And so the wavelength is picked specifically because it doesn't react differently to different skin colors. And so it passes through the same regardless of the skin color of the person. There's no absorption in the melanin. Now, besides that light activation, just the absorption itself of the laser, that helps create a gentle warmth that acts as a vasodilator and then improves the blood flow into the area that you're treating. So we're actually treating the area where there is the pain instead of trying to take something in our bodies that has to go travel around the whole body and block the pain. We're actually trying to heal the pain at the site where it's located.
That's amazing, Jim. Now, a few years ago, I went to the chiropractor. He used some type of laser for my pain. And I tell you, it really was remarkable. It really helped me. And I think what we're talking about is through this infrared laser that you have and from the Epoch 980, you're making this type of pain relief available to the general public. People can just buy it and use the system at home. Is that the idea?
That's the idea. We have this saying, a healing light in every home. There is no reason why people can't take control of their own pain management and have something that is in their home that they can apply to their bodies, and they can help heal their pain, whether it be in their hands or their feet or their knees or their shoulders. It gives them the responsibility instead of going off every time to say, gosh, my hand or my wrist hurts. They can just pick something off the shelf that's easy to use and pick it up and treat their pain locally with their device at their decision, at their timing, when they're relaxing.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Jim. Now, I know physicians have these types of laser light systems in their office. Therapists have them in their offices. A lot of athletic trainers are using them, like I mentioned at the top of the show, to help not only world-class athletes, but college athletes, and I'm sure they're helping high school athletes as well. So when we talk about healing at the cellular level, what people are going to be wondering, and I thought maybe this would be an interesting point to get into, is that when we've done our research, there's a lot of research online and a lot of very, very important research done about lasers for pain. So maybe you could just touch on that just a little bit here at the beginning of the show.
Sure. The idea of using lasers to mitigate pain started back really in the 70s. And there was something developed called a cold laser. And they were used maybe for 5, 6, 7 years. And they weren't really effective in a lot of cases because they were very low in power. They had a very small spot size, and the treatment times took very, very long. So one of the problems we solved is to say, hey, how can we get enough energy into the body to actually make the treatment times a lot quicker and be a lot more effective? And so there's literally thousands of studies, all different wavelengths and all different power levels. I did something called a meta-analysis. I looked at all of these studies and I said, why does this work? Why doesn't this work? And from that, I came up with the conclusion that they're not putting enough power into the body to penetrate deep enough to activate the cells, that cellular mechanism. And so I started researching at the cellular level to say, how much light does it take to activate these cells? And once you know that, you can then know the absorption between each layer of tissue, and you know how it diminishes as it passes through the body. So you can start with the right amount of power. And so that's starting at the cell level and working your way up to the actual device of what it needs to be is really what I did. And it makes for a much more effective treatment and a much shorter treatment. 10 minutes is a typical treatment with the laser. For the home product, typically 30 minutes. So very quick.
Wow.